Before we begin, here's a quick welcome. On this channel, we take big, complicated topics, things like Bitcoin, blockchain, AI, and finance, and break them down into simple explanations anyone can understand. No jargon, no confusion, just clear storytelling that makes everything finally make sense. So if you've always wanted to understand Bitcoin, but felt overwhelmed by the technical stuff, this video will make it feel obvious. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe. Now let's get started. If someone asked you, what exactly is Bitcoin? You might think of a digital coin, some crazy price chart, or something that only tech people and crypto bros understand. But the truth is, Bitcoin is surprisingly simple once someone explains it the right way. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what Bitcoin is, how it works, why it's valuable, and why millions of people care about it, even if you know absolutely nothing right now. So let's start with a question that sounds simple, but actually reveals a lot. What makes money money? Why is a piece of paper with a number on it considered valuable, but a piece of paper you draw on isn't? The answer is trust. Money works because everyone agrees that it works. And Bitcoin is a totally new way to create that trust without needing any bank, government, or authority to manage it. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's define Bitcoin in the simplest possible way. Bitcoin is a form of digital money that lives entirely on the internet and is controlled by no one. Not a company, not a CEO, not a country. It runs on a technology called blockchain, and it allows people anywhere in the world to send money to each other without needing a bank. Think of it like email, but for money. When you send an email, you don't need a post office or a delivery truck. Bitcoin does the same thing for payments. The whole idea started in 2008, during the global financial crisis, when a mysterious person or group using the name Satoshi Nakamoto released a 9-page document explaining a new kind of money. Satoshi wanted to solve one problem. How do you allow strangers to exchange money without trusting a bank to keep records? Because banks can make mistakes. Banks can freeze accounts. Banks can be hacked. And banks can be influenced by governments. Bitcoin was designed as an alternative, a system where the rules are written in code, not in human decisions. But now we arrive at the big question, what actually is a blockchain? Because everyone hears the word, but not everyone truly understands it. So here's the cleanest explanation. Imagine a giant notebook that's copied to thousands of computers all around the world. Everyone has the same notebook. Whenever someone makes a Bitcoin transaction, like Alice sends Bob 0.2 Bitcoin, that transaction gets written into this notebook. But here's the catch, nobody can erase anything in it. Nobody can change past pages. And every new page has to match what everyone else has. This notebook is the blockchain. Each page of the notebook is called a block. And inside each block is a list of transactions, plus a special fingerprint called a hash. This hash depends on all the information in the block, and it also contains the fingerprint of the previous block. This is what forms the chain in blockchain. If even one tiny detail in one block changes, its fingerprint changes, and suddenly it no longer matches the next block. The whole chain breaks. Everyone instantly sees that someone tried to cheat. This is why Bitcoin is secure. To change one part of the history, you would have to change thousands of copies of the blockchain at the same time. And that's practically impossible. Now we know what the blockchain is, but who adds new blocks to it? In other words, who updates the notebook? That's where miners come in. Miners are people or companies who run powerful computers to validate transactions and record them into the next block. When you send Bitcoin, your transaction goes into a big waiting area called the mempool. Miners pick up those transactions, bundle them into a block, and then try to solve a puzzle to make that block valid. This puzzle is called proof of work. And here's a simple analogy. Imagine someone gives you a safe with a combination lock, but the only way to open it is by guessing every possible combination until one works. That's what miners do. They guess billions of numbers per second until one works. Why? Because once they find the right answer, they get rewarded with newly created Bitcoin. That reward system is what keeps miners motivated and what puts new Bitcoin into circulation. Proof of work serves two big purposes. One, it prevents cheating, because rewriting the blockchain would require enormous amounts of computing power. And two, it controls how fast new Bitcoin is created. No matter how many miners there are, or how powerful their machines become, Bitcoin will only release new coins at a fixed, predictable rate. Which brings us to one of the most important parts of Bitcoin, its limited supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's the cap. No one can make more. Not a government. Not a CEO. Not even all the miners in the world combined. This limited supply is what makes Bitcoin similar to digital gold. Gold is valuable partly because it's rare and hard to produce. Bitcoin is valuable for the same reason. You can't print more Bitcoin the same way governments print more money. And that scarcity is a big part of why the price goes up over time, despite all the volatility. But what about storing Bitcoin? Where do you keep it? That's where wallets come into the picture. A Bitcoin wallet does not actually store Bitcoin. Instead, it stores two things: a public key, which is basically your Bitcoin address, and a private key, which is like the password that proves you own that address. Think of the public key like your email address. Anyone can send you money. But the private key is your password. Anyone who has it can control your Bitcoin. And here's the brutal truth. If you lose your private key, you lose your Bitcoin forever. There is no customer hotline, no password reset button, no support email. You are your own bank, which is empowering but also risky if you're careless. Now that we understand what Bitcoin is and how it works, let's tackle another big question. Why does Bitcoin have value? The answer comes from several factors. First, scarcity. Only 21 million coins will ever exist. Second, decentralization. No one controls Bitcoin. Third, security. The network is protected by massive computational power. Fourth, utility. You can send Bitcoin anywhere, anytime without permission and without needing a bank. And finally, trust. Millions of people worldwide believe in Bitcoin as a store of value, the same way people believe in gold. Of course, Bitcoin also has limitations. Transactions can be slow compared to traditional payment systems. Fees can rise when network traffic is high. Mining consumes a lot of energy. And the price can swing wildly. Bitcoin is not a guaranteed path to wealth. It's a technological experiment that became a global financial asset. And like any new technology, it has ups and downs. And then there are misconceptions. People say Bitcoin can be hacked. That's not true. The Bitcoin blockchain itself has never been hacked. What gets hacked are exchanges companies that hold Bitcoin on behalf of users, or individual people who lose their private keys or fall for scams. Others say Bitcoin is anonymous, but the truth is that Bitcoin is pseudonymous. Your name isn't shown, but every transaction is public. If someone connects your identity to your Bitcoin address, they can trace your activity. So, is Bitcoin good or bad? The real answer is Bitcoin is a tool. It's a new kind of money built on math instead of trust. It's digital cash that's borderless, open to anyone, and resistant to censorship. And whether you think Bitcoin is the future or a passing trend, it has already changed how millions of people think about money. Let's end with a simple perspective. For thousands of years, money has been controlled by kings, governments, and banks. Bitcoin introduced a new idea: money controlled by no one, run by everyone, and verified by math. It's not perfect, it's not magic, but it is revolutionary. If you want a follow-up video explaining how Bitcoin mining hardware works, or a simple guide to choosing the right Bitcoin wallet, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video helped Bitcoin finally click for you. If you want more beginner-friendly guides, like how to choose a Bitcoin wallet, how to store crypto safely, or how blockchain works behind the scenes, let me know in the comments. I read every suggestion. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. And if you're new here, Consider subscribing for more clear and simple explanations just like this. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.